This is the vocabulary video for Chapter 3 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. As you watch and listen to the video, please pause the video when you get to new words and record the word, its definition and synonyms, and any other notes that you want to take to your vocabulary graphic organizer. As we practice these words, you will be able to go back to that graphic organizer and use those notes that you have taken to help you. The first vocabulary word for Chapter 3 is maroon. In this context, it is an adjective. In Harry Potter, it says, Smelting's boys wore maroon tailcoats, orange knickerbockers, and flat straw hats called boaters. In that sentence, you can see that maroon describes tailcoats, orange describes knickerbockers, and the words flat and straw describe the hats. Those make those words adjectives. They are describing nouns. Maroon is a dark red color. If you were to go get a huge pack of crayons, you know that you would have a wide variety of reds. The dark red color that is similar to crimson is called maroon. Twanging is a verb. In Harry Potter, it says, Harry picked it up and stared at it, his heart twanging like a giant elastic band. Twanging is a harsh, quick sound made by pulling something, such as a wire, tight, and then letting it go. You could imagine if someone was playing the guitar and pulled the wire tight and then let it go, it would make that harsh, quick sound. That is twanging. Elastic is an adjective. It is describing a noun in this sentence. Harry picked it up and stared at it, his heart twanging like a giant elastic band. Elastic means that something is able to return to an original shape or size after being stretched, squeezed, etc. If you were to pull a rubber band apart and let it go, it would return to that original shape and size. However, if you were using Play-Doh and you pulled it apart and let it go, it would not return to its original shape and size, so it would not be elastic. Some synonyms for elastic are flexible, malleable, pliable, springy. Parchment is a noun, it is a thing. In Harry Potter it says, the envelope was thick and heavy, made of yellowish parchment, and the address was written in emerald green ink. Parchment is a strong and thick paper. So if you have a paper that is very thin and you could hold it up and easily see through it, you would not want to call that paper parchment. A lot of times when I think of parchment, I think about very old paper when there were scrolls of this thick, almost handmade paper. You would call that parchment. Whelk is a noun, it is a thing. In Harry Potter it says, Marge is ill, he informed Aunt Petunia. Ate a funny whelk. So I can see from the sentence that whelks are something that you can eat. A whelk is a large snail that lives in the ocean. You can see a few pictures of different whelks at the bottom of the screen. Porridge is a noun, it is also a thing. In Harry Potter it says, within seconds it was the grayish white of old porridge. I'm thinking about the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where Goldilocks goes to the bear's house and tries 3 different porridges, and one is too hot and one is too cold and one is just right. Porridge is another word for oatmeal. If you were to go to Britain, they would probably call it porridge. Gruel is another name for porridge or oatmeal, a synonym. Scruff is a noun, it is also a thing. In Harry Potter it says, out, roared Uncle Vernon, and he took both Harry and Dudley by the scruffs of their necks and threw them into the hall, slamming the kitchen door behind them. Your scruff is the skin on the back of your neck. If you imagine a cat, whether it's a house cat or a wild lion, if that cat is carrying its baby around, they carry the baby by the scruff of their neck, the back of the neck, because it does not hurt them. So the scruff is the skin on the back of the neck. Promptly is our next vocabulary word. In Harry Potter, it says, Harry and Dudley promptly had a furious but silent fight over who would listen at the door. Promptly is describing this fight. It is describing a verb, so we call it an adverb. Promptly means exactly at a particular time. If you think about the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, the rabbit wants to do things promptly and always has that pocket watch to make sure he's on time or prompt. He's always worried about being late. So some synonyms for promptly would be directly, instantly, quickly, swiftly, or speedily. The opposite of doing something promptly would be doing it slowly. If you were needing to call 911 about an emergency, you would want to make sure you did it promptly. You wouldn't want to wait until half an hour after an emergency happened and then report something. You would want to do it promptly. Whacked is our next vocabulary word. In Harry Potter, it says, Dudley screamed, whacked his father with his smelting stick, been sick on purpose, kicked his mother, and thrown his tortoise through the greenhouse roof. Whacked, screamed, kicked, and thrown are all different verbs in this sentence that are describing what Dudley is doing. So we can infer that whacked is not a good thing to do to one's parent. If you think about whack-a-mole, you are hitting or punching or banging that mole to go back down, and another mole will replace it, and then you'll try to whack that mole. Whacked means to have hit someone or something with great force. So if you just tap someone on the shoulder, you wouldn't want to say you whacked them. But if you are hitting that mole with a lot of force, you could say you whacked the mole. Tufts are a thing. They are a noun. In Harry Potter, it says that Uncle Vernon was trying to speak calmly, but pulling great tufts out of his mustache at the same time. Tufts are small bunches of feathers, hairs, grass, etc. that grow close together. So if you imagine going outside and sitting in the grass and you reach back and you pull up a clump of grass, you could say you pulled up a bunch, cluster, or group of grass, but you could also say that you pulled up a tuft of grass. Mustache is a noun. It is also a thing. In Harry Potter, it says, Uncle Vernon was trying to speak calmly but pulling great tufts out of his mustache at the same time. Sometimes it's hard to remember what is a mustache versus what is a beard. Mustaches are the hair growing on men's upper lips. So you can see here an array of 5 rows of 3 mustaches. So there are 15 different examples of what a mustache might look like. But it is that hair that grows on a man's upper lip. And our last vocabulary word for chapter 3 is rations. In Harry Potter, it says, Uncle Vernon's rations turned out to be a bag of chips each and 4 bananas. Rations are particular amounts of food that are given to people or animals for a certain amount of time. If you were learning about a war in which there wasn't enough food for everybody to buy exactly what they wanted and as much of it as they wanted, there would possibly be rations. So each family or each person would be allowed to buy a certain amount of eggs, a certain amount of food each week, and they would have to portion it on their own. So the food that they are allowed to buy is their allowance, their quota, and here we know that we can call it their rations. So in Harry Potter, if Uncle Vernon is getting food for 4 people and each person only gets 1 bag of chips and 1 banana, we can see that that is not a large amount of rations for each person.